Zoom.
It's going to orbis@rmsacolets.com.
Okay, it should come down from there, it should went to SAS.
Okay, we are
See if I can
streaming.
forward it.
We are streaming, so I am going to call the meeting to order at 2:08, and we are having a couple of technical difficulties, so before I ask for the resolution, we'll see if we can't get our technical difficulties sorted out prior to starting the meeting.
I just sent it to Sasko as well.
Okay.
They'll all be up on the screen, Counselor. So I'll do the sharing.
Yeah, just go ahead.
Okay. Okay, so with that, I will ask the CAO, I call the meeting to order, and I will ask for a resolution for the adoption of the agenda, please.
Resolve the agenda for the meeting be adopted as circulated with the following additions: new other business, boat launch, and Hydro Park Trail.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Vazrowicz, Councillor Strang seconds. Are there any other additions, deletions, or amendments to the agenda for this afternoon? Hearing and seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor, opposed, and carried. The next item on our agenda is confirmation of the minutes from our October the 13th regular meeting, and if I could have the resolution for that one, please.
Resolve the minutes of October 13th, 2020 regular meeting of council be adopted as presented.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Spicer, second. Councillor Sutherland, any further discussion, corrections, omissions? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. We have no delegations this afternoon, and that moves us into number 6, or no communications for action either. So we are on to number 6 on our agenda, new and other business. And the first item there is the portable washrooms. And I believe that there is a,
Decision paper.
thank you, decision paper on that. Go ahead, Deepak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Regarding the purchasing of the portable washrooms, there's been some discussions in the past, and at the last council meeting, we had mentioned that there hadn't been any further responses for anybody to do just cleaning of the bathrooms themselves. Since that point, we have received information back that Country John's portable toilets will continue to service them, just cleaning, even though there are our own portable toilets, which of course then allows us to put in advertising or whatever we'd like on top of the toilets purchased. So we have Pauline John out of Alberta, who's quoted us a price of $5,900.10, or $5,910, sorry, $5,910 for the purchase of 6 PGN portable restrooms assembled and delivered to Winnipeg. So their quote is still standing. We're recommending that you authorize the administration to go out and purchase those toilets, the portable toilets, and then we set up Country John's to do the cleaning at $495 a week.
Okay, I'll get the resolution read, and we'll have a mover and seconder, and then we'll have some discussion. So go ahead and read the resolution if you could, please, Deepak.
Resolved, administration be authorized to purchase 6 PJN portable restrooms from Polly John at a cost of $5,910. And further be it resolved, CAO be authorized to enter into contract with Country John's for the servicing of 6 portable restrooms at a cost of $495 a week.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Spicer, Councillor Borges seconds. Any further discussion, questions, comments? Go ahead, Councillor Spicer.
Just 2 questions, just on process. So, are we now going to have these out full year round, or are we still doing the same time periods that we did summer and winter as we were before? And secondly, there's been some discussion about other locations. I think Lockport's been brought up for future, so would we just adjust it at that time?
Go ahead, Mr.
Meaning
Seaver.
buy another toilet and or move a toilet and then add that additional toilet, if it is an additional toilet, to the contract. Thank you.
To address those questions, yes, Councillor. First, in regards to having them out for 12 months a year, that's up to the council to make that decision. What we're basing right now is that we're purchasing them, and we'll be able to put them out as soon as possible. Of course, any increase in service, there will be an increase in cost. That'll be a discussion with council. At this point, we're proposing to continue on to the same level of service and then have further discussions with council. I would say that's a good discussion to have as part of our budget process for 2021 and address that. Which brings up to the issue regarding the Lockport. You've asked the administration to review, and once we've reviewed, we would come back with a proposal, whether it's portable washrooms that we would put in Lockport, or whether we could put in flushable washrooms in Lockport, taking advantage of maybe some of the existing buildings that are there, maybe the heritage site itself, or some of the things that I've been exploring.
Okay, anybody else have any comments or questions on the portable washrooms? The resolution was read. I have a mover and a seconder, and if no one else has any further comment, I will call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Okay, the next one is the fire protection grant, and there has been a grant available for some fire protection equipment, and I will let Mr. CAO go through that one.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The province has announced a $5 million fund for the fire protection grants as part of its Fire Prevention Week that it sent out last week. Administration would like to submit an application for the grant of taking advantage of this program, and it requires a council resolution in order to support the application of committing funding for the grant. The fire protection grant is open to all municipalities. It's going to support projects and activities, and there are 3 categories: planning, training, and safety equipment. We've chosen the request under safety and chosen for the emergency generators, as these are part of our safety equipment that we could take advantage of. We're looking at putting forward for the East Selkirk and the East Beaches, as the Narrow Fire Hall already has a generator. These would be brought forward. These are relatively cheaper generators than what we were originally looking at, and so we're putting forward that as a part of the process. What this recommendation is that we put forward, and if 100% of the funding is not available, that council would move forward to look at dealing with this in the 2021 budget. Now, if for some reason we don't get any approval from the province for funding on this, or that the costs are well beyond what that was anticipated, council can always make a decision later on in the budget process that they chose not to proceed at that point. But we feel it's important to put forward the proposal, the request.
Go ahead, Councillor Bazarowicz.
You mentioned that these would be less expensive than what we originally anticipated. Do we have even a size that we're looking at? Like, they're not going to be the same size as the one we have here or at the fire hall. The one at the fire hall was put there for the sewage system. Do we need anything that size? Or more?
Nothing of that size.
Okay.
We're looking at a fairly, the kind of generators just to keep the building running. We're looking at a possibility of a generator that would, in the case of East Selkirk, be run off of natural gas. And some of those you can get, Costco, Home Depot, those are the types of generators. So it's not something very, very significant.
It's not like the size of
No, not
a
like,
hard garage.
not about the size of a small Volkswagen or a Leaf, as opposed to
Okay.
a Volkswagen bus.
Go ahead, Councillor Spicer.
Okay, so, couple of questions. Do we have an estimated number of the cost for these two generators? Did I miss it? Sorry, it might have been. Sorry.
Go ahead, sorry.
Secondly, this money has to be spent by March 2021, the way I see it, and we can apply for more than one project. So, I'll have to put a fine line in here, but are we buying a tanker? Shouldn't we maybe be applying for that too?
Go ahead, Mr. CAO.
Very good idea. I can certainly put forward the tanker and see what happens. Thank you for that piece of information, and we will put forward for the tanker. In regarding the fire protection grant, these are in the few $1,000s. We're just waiting for the numbers. But what we needed was a resolution from council to move forward. And it was a timing issue, and we brought it forward. As soon as I get the estimates, I will share those with council.
Thank you.
Okay, so basically, we don't have a lot of the detail yet, but they need a resolution to put the grant application in, and that is what is being asked for today. So I think we talked about it. So Mr. CAO, if you want to read the resolution, please. I don't believe I had a mover or a seconder.
Resolved, council authorized the submission of an application to fire protection grant for the purchase and installation of emergency backup generators at the East Selkirk and East Beaches Fire Hall. And further be it resolved, funds be committed to the 2021 budget should the grant not cover 100% of the costs.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Horvis, Councillor Strang, seconds. Any further discussion on this application, or this resolution, sorry? Hearing and seeing. Go ahead, Councillor Horvis, you had another question?
So if we have to match funds or do anything, we would pay only half of the grand rate, right?
Correct. They've already put forward their motion in Alexander as well.
And they're agreeable.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, have a mover, have a seconder. Any other questions? Go ahead, Councillor Spicer.
So should we be putting the tanker in this resolution also?
Mr. CAO.
Good point. So well, let's change the resolution that installation of emergency backup generators at the East Selkirk and East Beaches Fire Hall and fire protection tanker for the East Selkirk Fire Hall.
Tanker truck.
I'll correct it a little bit better.
Okay, and the mover and seconder are okay with that? Go ahead, Councillor Spicer.
Sorry for putting that in there, it's just I've never seen a grant for a fire truck in my years. So I think we should try and do it. So, and maybe if we don't get one, we get the other.
Glenn
Okay.
said it's called, sorry, Glenn said it's called a pumper tanker.
Pumper tanker, yes.
Yeah.
So for a pumper tanker for the East Selkirk Fire Hall.
Okay, so the mover and the seconder are okay with adding that additional piece of equipment in? Okay, have a mover, seconder, if there is no other discussion, I will call the question, all those in favor, opposed, and that is carried. Okay, we are down to our resident concern at 204 and 212, and I believe Councillor Sutherland and I both got that letter. I brought mine into the office here to be put on the agenda. And comments from our CAO, please.
Mr. Delanuck has received a response back from the province on his letter requesting a review of the yield and access onto at the intersection of 204 and 212, and I think that's from 212 on to 204. And so what the request has been is to increase the yield, the merge lane onto the to accommodate for the higher speeds, and as well requesting for a lowering of the speed. The province has agreed to do the review of the merge lane and have suggested that his letter be forwarded to the municipality and follow the process of speeds as part of this process. My recommendation would be that we receive this as information today, and at a later point we bring it forward as part of a request for looking at speeds and our speeds bylaw review for the municipality.
Aren't these provincial roads though, so would we have any jurisdiction over that?
Well, and that's, I guess, where we're kind of going with that. I know that we are supposed to be looking at our roads for speed zones and have a bylaw in place. I did not believe that the provincial roads were included in that, and we've never had to pass a resolution to change the speed on a provincial road. So I think that's why the CAO is suggesting that we receive it as information so we can do a little bit more investigating on it. Is this something that the province is now putting in the hands of the municipalities, or what is happening? So, Councillor Sutherland.
No, I can't pull it up, but I believe in that letter he got from MI, I do remember reading that they had asked, stated to him that it would be good to get a response from the municipality in regards to these speed limits. It is a PRO, but I do recall them asking him to the municipality should get on board.
Well, it says, his letter says, the letter from the province says, with respect to the request for speed limit changes, this needs to be initiated by the municipality along
Yes.
with a resolution from council.
Right.
But I guess I don't ever recall sending a resolution to change a speed zone on a provincial road.
I understand that, but I'm just reading that, that's what they,
Right. Okay, Councillor Vazarowicz and then Councillor Spicer.
We did do the application for this road to drop the speed limit from the corner to the ground.
How long ago was that?
It was a long time ago.
Yeah,
But we did do this one.
okay. Councillor Spicer.
I guess that same kind of question, like, okay, so what should the speed be then, right?
Yeah.
I mean, without a traffic study, you know, we're kind of guessing, aren't we?
Correct.
Well, and I believe that's perhaps why our CAO is suggesting that we receive it as information today so that we can do some more investigating, so Public Works can have a look at it and see where it goes. Councillor Strang.
I was just going to say that opening the can of worms with us doing, we've also already about Highway 44 where our industrial park is that we've requested. So if this goes forward,
Right.
that'd be just something to
Yeah.
keep in mind for that one too.
Thank you.
Councillor Sutherland, and then I'm going to give the floor to you, Mr. CAO.
this is not on this topic, but it's in regards to Mr. Dahl, like we had spoke before about striking up a committee between St. Clements and Selkirk about Selkirk Bridge condition. And I asked if he would, be asked to be on that committee. So I put the question to him, I told him, we talked about it and he'd be more than happy to be on that committee. Just
Thank you.
Councilor Vazzarowicz.
Just another comment, in the past, whenever we made an application like this, we always did like 3 votes because it took so long for the process to go through.
I'm gonna hand it over to our CAO, because I'm sure he has some thoughts on where we should
Thank
go
you.
with this.
These are all leading into what I was going to suggest. One is that we need to do a proper study. If we're going to make any kind of a motion to council, you have to have the appropriate evidence behind for council to make the decision to lower speed limits. And if the province is now saying that they would entertain applications on provincial roads for reduction of speeds, we definitely want to look at Highway 44. We definitely want to take a look at this, but we want to take a look at others. So that's why I suggested as part of our speeds review, which are the roads that make sense that we want to put forward as a request with appropriate supporting evidence.
Go ahead, Councilor Vazzarowicz.
Council Strang mentioned 44, which you mentioned Industrial Park, where the fire department has asked many times, because we've had so many accidents right at the corner of 44 and Henderson there, that they're not slowing down fast enough. They gotta slow down prior to the bridge, not after.
I believe in the request that went to the province not long after our CAO started, or perhaps it was even just before. That is the 2 things that we did ask. We asked for a reduced speed zone, perhaps a turning lane at the industrial park, because there's people are going 100 clicks an hour there, and you're trying to turn, if you're going west and you're trying to turn into our industrial park, it's sometimes very hard to do that. And I also believe in that same letter, we did ask about a reduction or what they're doing with that corner at Lockport, because it does belong to them. And and I think right in the letter, I actually looked at it the other day, we had the stats of how many accidents our fire department has attended at that corner over the last 5 or 6 years. And I think that was all in the letter. The intersection of 44 and Henderson Highway going, well, we haven't heard anything back. Yeah, no, not on that one, so. Okay, so we'll take this as information. Anybody else have any comments on this one before I move on? We'll take it as information, and it will come back once we have more information on what the gist is there. So, we are at the St. Hubertus Fish and Game Association, 6.4 on our agenda.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We received another request for extension of operating hours for 2 additional Sunday events for St. Hubertus, and they requested for those listed in the briefing note here. To inform you, we haven't had any complaints from any of the previous events that have been granted by council. And what we're suggesting is that we authorize them to have these additional events.
Okay, I see there is a resolution there. If nobody has any questions, I will ask our CEO to read the resolution, and then we can open up for discussion if there is any.
Whereas a request was made by the St. Hubertus Game and Fish Association to renew the extension of the Thursday shooting hours, which had been approved by council on January 28, 2019 by resolution 2019-028. Therefore, be it resolved, council authorizes the renewal of the extension of the shooting hours to Monday 12 to 6 p.m., Tuesday 2 p.m. to 9 p.m., Wednesday 2 p.m. to 9 p.m., Thursday 2 p.m. to 9 p.m., Friday 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., Saturday 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., Sunday no shooting outside of special events. And further be it resolved, St. Hubertus Game and Fish be allotted 2 additional Sunday special events.
Okay, can I have a mover, please? Councillor Vazarowicz, Councillor Sutherland seconds. Any further discussion, questions, queries on this resolution? Hearing and seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Okay, next we have the Grand Marais Santa, I'm sorry, I don't.
Santa Claus Parade.
Thank you, I don't have it on my agenda because I have the one from Friday, so this is a new one.
And so what they're looking to do is have a Santa Claus Parade down there on December 5th at noon. And they'll be posting on their Facebook page and information. So it's been provided as information for council for the Santa Claus Parade. And what they're looking for is to inform us. At the same point, I've been contacted by our Public Works manager requesting what is council's wish in light of COVID restrictions regarding the Santa Claus Parade in Grand Marais as well as East Selkirk, and should we begin decorating our truck or our float for the parade, as well as they're beginning to look at putting up the lights in East Selkirk, and just wanted to inform you of that.
Well, I guess as far as I know, the lights need to go up. And as far as I know, there is no Santa Claus Parade in Selkirk. There is some sort of a drive-by, and perhaps Councillor Strang, do you know anything more on that at this point in time?
Yeah, it will be a stationary parade that the residents drive by in their cars. They can only be, there's nobody walking at all. Whoever doesn't have transportation, they believe they're going to try and get the city buses going, but nothing with any contact, no candy throwing. So I understand his having the parade, but I guess as long as he can comply with COVID regulations, because you cannot have gatherings out anywhere, so I don't know how they're going to be doing the parade. But yes, St. Clement's will be given a part in the park, a spot, and that will be ours to decorate, and everybody will be driving around. So there's no driving around of anything
Would
about the
we
parade.
be decorating a vehicle and placing it on, or would we
Decorating the
spot?
area, the vehicle, trailer, whatever, and
I'll get
it's on
back on that.
December 4th, that one is, so.
That's
it's
the
like-
Friday.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it's the night before and then going to the next one, but I don't know how they're gonna have this parade that,
Well, I know that in past, the parade in Grand Marais hasn't had a lot of entries, and basically I know that I've been there before, and Councillor Horvis, Councillor Sutherland have been there, and we've just taken the truck and we do have this pop-up raccoon that everybody seems to really like. So I guess it's a matter of two people being in the vehicle would both have to be masked, and you just drive the parade route. There will be no throwing of candy or anything like that, as he says, and there's no pancake breakfast. So it would be up to council to decide if two members of council perhaps want to go take one of the municipal trucks and do that. So,
the
go
one,
ahead, Councillor Strang.
the truck will be decorated if we do participate in the one in Selkirk.
Yes.
It'll already be decorated from that night, so
Yeah.
if we can get it back and just, they can take it up.
We haven't been doing a float for the Santa Parade. It's mostly been the truck with, you know, the truck is decorated and this raccoon is in the back. So if council so wishes, I mean, I'm sure that two of us could go up to Grand Marais. I would be willing to do one or the other, not both this year. I will leave it to members of council to get a hold of the office and let them know if they are interested and which one they would like to attend. Like, I mean, for the one down in the park, you're just basically going to be sitting in the truck
Or standing up.
or standing outside and people will be driving past, so.
So, Madam
Go
Mayor,
ahead.
one of our questions was to see direction that we'd be doing something. It looks like we're doing something. So what I'll do is go back and work with our Public Works manager, take a look at what we're going to be doing for December 4th and the 5th, and then what we'll do is I'll come back and report at the next council meeting the details, and then you can choose how you want to participate.
Okay, go ahead, Councillor Horace.
What we did in the past is we just left the truck at the fire hall because I don't think you'd be able to drive with decorations from Salford all the way to the thing there. So So, and then picked it up at the fire hall.
They've not been back to back before. The one in Selkirk is usually at the end of November. So then what we would do is they would take the truck, we do the November one in Selkirk, then the truck would go up north to the fire hall, and we would just drive up to the fire hall and get it from there and participate in the other one. So we'll have to figure something out. Do we have 2 decorations, Heather, do you know?
I don't think so.
Okay, I thought there were 2 for some reason.
I'm pretty sure not, but
We
we
need to
check.
put Deepak in the back.
Get them the fish suit.
I have the body for Santa Claus, not the complexion,
Why not?
Why not? How do you know that?
more like Kwanzaa.
Okay, any
Gotta
other
grow that goatee out.
I've tried, this is as big as it gets.
Okay, so we'll come, Deepak will bring back some additional information on that one. 6.6, land purchase on Kirkness Road, and I believe there are some admin comments on that one.
Correct, Madam Mayor. There's a piece of railbed land, as you can see on the screen, that was identified to be purchased. It was various lands throughout this abandoned railbed were offered to the property owners. Some chose to take it, some didn't at that time. We've been approached by this individual that they're prepared to buy that piece of land. So a quick analysis has been done. We've identified the cost per acre. The sale price would be $11,424, and that's based on our council's approved sale price. And so what we're recommending is that we would sell this piece of railbed land to the individual for that price, and further that they'd be responsible for any of the subdivision variation fees that are needed as part of the process.
Okay, I have to back up the bus a little bit. I thought this subdivision was already done.
He's asking for another piece.
Oh, this is a different piece of railbed.
The other pieces were for his daughter, I think, and
Yeah. And this is gonna like
different piece of property.
Okay,
it's gonna make his lot really weird shaped lot too. Cause it's gonna have that piece in the front and then still a side piece that goes along the railway.
okay, so this request, there has been no subdivision or anything
No,
on this?
not in this part.
So he's requesting to purchase it before we have to subdivide that piece of railbed then? Or is that railbed on a separate title?
He's requesting to purchase that railbed and then we have to do the subdivision
Okay,
to move that piece into his property, just like we did with the last.
right, okay.
I don't know what planning's gonna say that it's because it's gonna create such an odd lot. But he's already got an odd shaped lot because he's got this real thin strip that goes along his north property.
Down here,
No, go, okay, it's up there.
up there.
Yeah,
Is the
Yes.
rest of the rail-
He's got this thin strip right here.
Some of it is in that area. Okay, so this has nothing to do with the other application that was before council some time ago. and
That
this
one's
is
finished
completely
now.
new. That one is finished, okay. Go ahead, Councillor Sutherland.
Just a comment about the railbed. There's a lot of gravel that we could get out of these, and we've done it before. Our Dunning transfer station, like when, I don't remember Glen property, like there was a lot of gravel, good gravel in those that we're just letting go by.
Yeah, we hauled a bunch of that over there.
It's, we should look into that.
That's a good point.
Trust me, it's good gravel, lots of it. Right, Dave? You know that.
Yeah, we had a loader in our trucks there, we loaded on the way, so I remember doing that.
Well, I guess the other thing that we have to consider is that if he already got part of it, or somebody, it doesn't matter who it is, already got parts of that railbed and we didn't take the gravel, do we just start doing it now for
Well,
this particular individual? Go
I'm not
ahead.
talking about this, but in the future, we
future.
have quite a few miles
Okay,
of,
rail,
it'd be
abandoned
interesting to
rail.
have Greg just
Do an analysis.
give, how many miles of
Yeah, we can take a look at that and come back to
It's
it.
not that, this land is still there, we're just taking that grade off
So be good base for
Well-
even that new,
for everything. It's
Yeah.
good gravel.
Go ahead, Sally.
No, I was just gonna say, are there many pieces of the rail bed that we own that we could, but have other residents purchased it?
Some
Like, is
have
there- yeah.
purchased it, yeah, it would take some time to probably map it all out as
Yeah.
of who's got.
I'm just
who's-
thinking there's free property, like there's property there that we could, because it's no use to us, except for if it has good gravel in it,
Right.
but it's something that we should maybe offer to the residents. It would be, like, because they're using it already.
Yes,
So-
yeah,
there's no way we can make them.
no.
But we should,
Put it
Look
out there
into
again,
that.
just that
Water
sometimes
ground.
there's new residents living in those
It's
places
been
too that.
offers before we've done this process.
Well, maybe
Yeah.
we should give them another wake up, maybe those people that we offered to before have sold and the other new people don't know about it, or?
Has it been a while, Heather, since it was
I
done?
don't remember when we did it.
Okay.
Okay, so does council have any problem with advising Mr. Fuchik that we are okay with him purchasing this and the subdivision application can be applied for and the process started?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Again, I don't know that there was a decision paper there, just to let him know that council agrees, and if he wants to go ahead with that, then the process can be started.
There's a resolution.
Oh, okay.
Resolved, council authorize the chief administrator or officer to declare a roll number 246750 as surplus land. Further be it resolved that council authorize the sale of the portion of abandoned railway to adjoining roll 246510 for $11,424 plus GST to Mr. Robert Fuchik with a 50% deposit and remaining balance due prior to registration of subdivision with the Winnipeg Land Titles Office. And further be it resolved, Mr. Fuchik be responsible for all costs incurred for the sale of the land, including but not limited to the subdivision and variation fees, engineering and legal fees at $300 and $300 administration fee as set out in bylaw 14 of 2009.
Councillor Spicer, are you moving that, or do you have a question? Moving it? Okay, can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Strang, any further discussion on this resolution? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Number 6.7, 59 Peninsula Point Road Drive, and that is an amended development agreement.
Correct, Madam Mayor.
Go ahead.
And so this was a subdivision that was completed, and the developer themselves had produced the engineering and came forward with an application that created a development agreement that the engineer identified what was considered as buildable area on, especially the lots that are close to the creek and by Cook's Creek. And so what ended up happening, in this case, this individual purchased this and preferred not to build on the buildable area that was identified by the geotechnical survey that was provided as part of the analysis, and would prefer to be closer to the river. They were requested to go out and acquire appropriate authority by hiring the geotechnical engineer to see if that was okay. And the geotechnical engineer came back and said if the bank's stable enough and it can accommodate, and it was the same engineer that did the original design. And so we've put it forward to our public works as well as our engineering services of WSP, and no one has any significant concerns. So since this is a development agreement, what we're requesting for is a development agreement amendment at the cost of the property owner to do all costs associated with doing an agreement amendment. Yes.
Go ahead, Councillor Spicer.
So correct me if I'm wrong, So if we go ahead and do this and they build, and there are issues later with flooding, then should be the geotechnical company that should be liable because they said that it was okay.
Correct.
Just wanted to ensure our liability was,
Can we write that in there somewhere?
thank you.
The liability that's here sits with the property owner who's hired the geotechnical engineer. Property owner is liable for anything that's been constructed. We would rely on the information of the geotechnical engineer. They had decided the buildable area. I think they were trying to save some of that old forest as necessary, and I don't think it has much to do with the flooding issues. At the end of the day, there was an agreement. Red River Planning has also looked at it, and there's no significant issues on their part. So it's with it does the 350 meter doesn't affect Cooks Creek the same way it is for the river.
Go ahead, Councillor Boulanger. Thank you, Councillor Spicer. Councillor Boulanger, did you have your hand up?
No, I was just going to say, I always thought a geotechnical letter or study or engineer report is more to do with ground stability and ground structure, not so much flooding. But Deepak answered the question, my question.
Okay, anybody else have any comments? Go ahead, Councillor Sutherland.
But they do have to build that, if they are allowed to build it to the proper level, the flood
Correct.
level, 224, I believe it was. That's part of the,
All that will be determined as part of the approval process in Red River Planning for the building permit itself.
and
Go
I
ahead.
know it's their property, but if they start taking out the trees and stuff, that's what concerns me. It's, people start to take out the vegetation and the trees to get a view of the creek or river, wherever it may be. And then they find out that everything's, over the years, it'll start to slump because of those vegetation and the trees hold that, stabilize that bank. But I guess we have no control over them.
We do have, if you take a look at the map on the screen, this particular area here has been reserved as public reserve. So they cannot touch that area.
Okay,
So they're only going in this area here.
Yeah.
More, and all that is to be left alone, and that was already determined as part of the subdivision process, so that we wouldn't have any bank instability issues and so forth.
yeah, but even the part that, beyond that, it concerns me, but it's their property, they can do what they want with it, so I guess we couldn't.
Deepak, can you bring the next page up? I can't move it on my screen. You have to move it for me. Okay, so if they're only saying that that's 30 feet from, is that
From their property line.
their property line? So there's 30 feet from the, where they want to place their house, there's 30 feet, and then the public reserve.
Correct.
Okay.
And that's our interpretation, and we'll verify that as part of this process.
Okay,
Red River knows that they're not allowed to build up to the property line.
right. Well, I guess my thought on it is how can you get a geotech person telling you that it's safe to build here only, and 6 months later be saying, oh, it's okay to go here?
I'm not sure what the reasoning behind the geotechnical engineer's decision was as to why they created a buildable area, and what discussions they may have even had with the developer. Council, I thought, may remember the overall subdivision and why some of that happened.
Right.
But all we can tell from our records is that it was the request of the developer as part of their application.
Okay, so do we need a resolution to amend that development agreement then?
Yes, we do. Resolved, council authorized mayor and CAO to enter in amended development agreement with Jordan Bedard and Nadine Kapiak to allow dwelling construction in accordance with Engineer Tech Geotechnical Report on Lot 1, Plan 63483, Winnipeg Land Titles Office. Further, be it resolved, Jordan Bernard and Nadine Kapiak be responsible for all legal, engineer, and land registration fees which are to be paid prior to registration of amended development agreement at Winnipeg Land Titles.
Okay, can I have a mover, please? Councillor Burgess, second. Councillor Sutherland. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Okay, 6.8, I believe that was our addition from this morning, and that is the boat launch and Hydro Park Trail. And if we could start with the comments there, Mr. CAO.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm wondering, should I yield the floor to Councillor Belanger, who wanted to put this on the agenda, or Councillor Belanger, are you comfortable with me leading?
Yeah, I'll speak to after you're done, yeah. I have some important comments to make.
There's been an email that has been sent to the to Manitoba Hydro requesting them to take a look at how we can deal with the boat launch, as well as encourage some parking and identifying some location for boat launch and see what their interest is. It talks a lot about what are some of the possibilities, the Hydro Trail portion of it, as well as where can we place it. So along with the email, what we've been able to identify that's been circulated is also the location where all this could be done as to the proposed boat launch area, and as well as some road access off of CIL onto the river for winter fishing. And along with that, a sketch of possibly what the boat launch could look like. And the intent here is that this would be a boat launch that was designed to accommodate for flooding purposes, so that it would be used for those months where you couldn't be able to use it as a boat launch, and then just let it be flooded and just kind of clean it. So basically concrete pads. This proposal has been shared with the Manitoba Hydro, specifically the manager at the Manitoba Hydro plant, which is the owners of all this land. On top of that, there's been discussions about possibly utilizing some of those other low-lying lands as part of the East Selkirk sort of trail going through the ash forests. And what it talks about is possibly using those lands in the same fashion, allow lands to be flooded when it occurs, and then utilize it for recreation purposes afterwards. Both of these things have been shared with the plant manager. I had a separate discussion with the plant manager about providing fire services as they're beginning to close down, and as we're going to be doing fire services. He was he said that he's received the mail, and he's pushed it up to the senior level people at the province. I've requested also to be considered as first right of refusal on any lands that they will plan on divesting from. And he said that that's something that he will let them know, but it will be the real estate people. I asked for them to contact me and give them my card, as well as I have some experience with some of the Manitoba Hydro real estate people, so hopefully we can get something going with them. What I've told them is that we're not looking for much of a buildable land as much as land that's not as buildable, basically towards the river and low-lying lands that nothing can really be done at. He said they're looking at it's going to be a process. First they're going to be decommissioning the plant, then looking at moving to demolish that plant at some point and divesting themselves of land. So there's a process that they'll be following, and that's my update so far. Councillor Belanger, would you like to add something more beyond that?
No, that's good, Deepak. I thought it was important that all council sees what's on the table. In terms of the boat launch, it kind of kills two birds with one stone. The old CIL location where that big drop-off right by our maintenance yard, where people have been using it to go down during the winter. Highway doesn't want access to there, and they did want access there for years. There's been a lot of near misses. So by putting the boat launch in Hydro Park further up the way, as you've seen, it eliminates that illegal access, which is actually Hydro property as well. So both Highways and Hydro were interested in sort of, or liking that idea or that concept. So my contact that I've been working with in Hydro, I'm going to meet him next week, and he's going to come have a look at the grounds just to get a feel of what's going on. In terms of the hiking trail, that's exactly what's happening, Deepak. Hydro used to be in the business of working with the community and giving letters of understanding, giving MOUs to use hydro land. They've completely changed their mythology now, and now they're starting to get rid of lands. And the point you made about the hiking trail and the boat launch being floodplain, there's really nothing else that hydro can do with those lands. They're not usable lands for anything else other than what we're using them for. So there's a real good opportunity here to hopefully get some successes with hydro. He said he can't guarantee anything, and I understand that. But the other situation that came to be was the trail money that the province announced just recently. It includes money that we can use for new trails. So that old ash forest, as you explained there, is a beautiful area that can have a complete incorporation of hiking in there, mountain biking, cross-country skiing, and it ties into the TCT, and it also ties into a place to go for our community. So working with Dan Lester, he's going to help me look for any potential grants that are there. A lot of that trail, that new trail that you saw there, could be actually mostly paid for with a little bit of RN help, but mostly paid for by grants. So that's the exciting thing about it.
Go ahead.
Furthermore to this, if I can request that any further discussions on this we have as part of in camera, because I can fill you in on some additional comments I received from the plant manager that are not public at this point.
Go ahead, Councillor Spicer.
So just for clarity, so Highways is open to the idea of going off onto the property for the proposed boat launch, or have those discussions taken place?
That would be the next discussion once we get somewhat of an approval from Hydro or some sort of an agreement. The next step would be, as you can see, that other picture Deepak had of where the potential boat launch could be. That's what has to happen, Scott, is that those intersections have to align. So the road would come straight across. There would be a permit needed to Highways to allow us to do that. When I did talk to Highways years ago, they said that's something that they would look at.
Good. Thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor Horvis.
The best place for that boat launch would be where that old pump house is. If they're gonna decommission all that, where that pump house is, there's probably a thing right into the water there now. It would be excellent place.
I think that's right here.
Yeah, the only problem with that site is the topography is extremely steep. That's the real high ridge there. So if you go there and have a look, you'll see that it's almost impossible because you're actually really high up on a hill as opposed to the other spot. So I know what you're saying, but it's just not usable.
Well, that's all good information and everything, and Rob, I know you're very passionate about some of these things. I would ask, though, that if you are going to be meeting, that Deepak be included so that he knows what's going on, so that it can be brought back to council, like if Hydro has some questions or whatever the case may be. I know it is one of your passions to get those trails and everything done, and that's all great and wonderful. I don't disagree, but I think that we should have our administration a little bit more involved rather than council members. So if you can,
That was my intent from day one. I just haven't contacted Deepak yet. The plan is to have administration there.
right.
I do not want to do this as a single person, and that's why I brought it to council now, was to let you know sort of what's been going on. My intent is not to solely do anything, it's to include administration and certainly include Deepak in all these conversations.
Perfect. That's exactly what I think needs to be done is, I mean, you know, Hydro could turn around and say that they're doing something else with the land, and I would hate to see everybody do all this work and then, you know, get it kind of kick, but I think that with what is being proposed, it's very viable because that land cannot be used in the back there. The ash pit can't be used for anything else other than hiking. So, yeah, good on you that you brought it this far, and just include Deepak in going forward, and hopefully we'll have some good trails. And as you said, it can be incorporated into the Trans-Canada Trail, which is right beside there. So it all works out in our favor in the end. Okay, perfect, thank you. It is 3 o'clock and I need to take a 5-minute break, please.
Okay, so, closing list of accounts.
Yeah, Heather's just closing the streaming down for my 5-minute break.